From the heart of Manhattan, this is Classic Talk.
This is Classic Talk with Bing and Dennis. Thank you for joining us. Today it's our great pleasure to chat with Jay Hunter Morris here in the studio. Welcome, Jay.
Thank you very much, Dennis.
Good to have you.
Happy to be here.
Jay is a tenor from Paris, Texas, who went to school first in Baylor University. And my first question for you is, when you were back there in Baylor, as an undergrad studying music education, did you dream of singing Siegfried at the Metropolitan Opera?
Oh, absolutely not. I'd never even heard of Siegfried. In fact, it wasn't that long ago that I had not really heard of Siegfried or contemplated taking on this beast. You know what? I grew up in the church. My father was a Southern Baptist music minister, and as you know, Baylor is a Baptist church, and I always thought that I was going to be involved in the music ministry, and I was as a young person, and even after my time at Baylor, I moved to Nashville and pursued gospel and country music, and but to talk about my time at Baylor, I do remember my roommate reminded me that there was a day that I saw Pavarotti singing one of his concerts. We had a little 13-inch color TV, and I was so smitten by the charisma and by the color and the power. And it didn't head me towards opera, but there was definitely a light that came on and a curiosity that was born then. But I sort of had to spend a few years chasing other things, and I played a little guitar, I played a little piano, and I did some good bit of studio work in Nashville. But you know what? I wasn't very good at any of it. I found a lot of things that I was mediocre at, and there was always, if I may go back to the ministry and my parents and my father, I had a belief instilled in me from a very young age that, I should pursue something great. I should try and be great at something, that if there's somebody out there that can do it, that I can do it too. So I always sort of had this little voice in the back of my head that said, find something and be really good at it. And once I realized in Nashville that I wasn't very good at any of those things.
What about ministering? I mean, your father is a minister, and is it calling for you at the time?
Well, it certainly was at the time. And it was something that is still a part of my heart and my life. I'm not involved full-time, obviously, in a church anymore, but I enjoyed that. It was a big part of my youth. But you know what? A young lady invited me to the opera in Dallas several years after Baylor, and it took me to see La Traviata. It was my first professional opera, my first real outing, and I was smitten. I could not believe it. I remember the whole night I kept saying, are you sure they don't have a microphone? That lady is laying on her back in this 3,000-seat house, that big orchestra, no microphone. I was so fascinated by the beauty of it, by the mastery that the singers possessed. And I thought that night, I said, you know what, I want to try that. And it's sort of well documented. I don't know if you know this or not, but the tenor was Alfredo Kraus, as the fates would have it. This is the late 80s, somewhere like that. I'm not sure what. I think I was about 24, 25 years old. And Mr. Kraus came out, and I said, I'm Jay, and I really love this, and could you give me a tip? How can I find out if I have a voice for this or not? And he was very kind to me and very encouraging. He said, you know what, I've got a friend here in town that teaches voice. And I just saw him, and I've got a card for him right here. He gave me his card. A man named Tommy Hayward, who sang at the Met for many years in the 40s and 50s. And the next day I called Mr. Hayward, and I set up lessons, and that began my path towards being right here.
So that's your turning point.
That was the turning point for me. I went and met with Mr. Hayward and sang some scales and some things for him and sort of imitated what I felt like opera singers did. And
what did he say when after you sang for him? What was the first thing he said?
He said, "There just might be a voice in there, son. Just might be a voice in there, son." And you know what? I thought, I want to try this. And I was young enough, what the real reason that I pursued it is because I felt a real passion ignited, and it's about the technique. It's about how do these people do what they do. It's so far removed from how we sing as country or gospel or rock and roll. I was just a normal kid. I sang at the Holiday Inn happy hour and played guitar, and I sang in the garage rock and roll bands and, high school choir and church choir. But what they do and the sounds that they were able to make with their throats and their bodies was so foreign to me that I was fascinated, and I still am. I'm not a young man anymore, and
you look young.
It's an illusion, I assure you. I'm so excited. Just about 2 weeks ago, I found this sort of new thing in my technique. We're all constantly pursuing, trying to get better, trying to get more polished, trying to get more beauty out of our throats and out of our bodies. And I'm still so excited about pursuing this art form and trying to be better and trying to sing better.
Did you find it during a performance or during
rehearsal?
During rehearsal.
One particular young lady that named Carol Isaac, who has been a coach and a friend of mine for many years. She's very honest. And so when she says, "Jay, you're flat. Jay, that's not pretty," I believe her. And so therefore, when I tried something new, it was a posture thing and a little bit of an alignment thing that sort of freed my throat up a little bit, a little less muscle and a little more freedom. And Carol said, "That's it. That's what you have to do. That's a prettier sound. That's a freer, more lyric sound." I believe her, because she tells me the truth when it's not good. So, it has begun it's ongoing. It got a little better the next day. It got a little better the next day. Some of the singing I did for the opening night of Siegfried and Gertrude Dameron I feel like it was the best I've ever done. And it's exciting and it's thrilling. Not all of it. I mean, there's a handful of notes that I'd sure like to take back and try again. But
do you think in this profession, you think either you have it or you don't?
Absolutely not.
No.
Who told you that?
I am just saying that.
That's nonsense. That's nonsense. And I'll tell you, listen, here's the thing. There's a multitude of young singers out there that are all really good. Mm-hmm. To step back just a little bit, I went to Baylor, and then I went on and studied with Mr. Hayward in Dallas at SMU and got a master's degree. And, the phrase in my head back then, my terminology was, I'm just going to put some bait in the water and see if somebody bites. I'm going to see if I can get one job and one person that believes in me and thinks I can do this. And I found a few. I sang in the chorus at the Dallas Opera when I was doing my master's degree there at SMU. And Jonathan Pell at the Dallas Opera got me an audition for the apprentice program in Santa Fe. And I got in there, and I got that one champion there, and then I met Marlena Mollis at Juilliard Opera Center, and she got me in there, and I spent 2 years here studying at Juilliard, and that's where I'm going to answer your question. Everybody was talented. Everybody was good. And there were, I don't know, how many, 30 or 40 tenors there at JOC while I was there that were outstanding, really great singers. So it could have been any one of them. Right. It could have been any of us that got the big break, that had the champion, that had somebody that believed in
This is what I said, either you have or you don't. Okay, maybe of those 30, 40 people, somebody can make it and somebody won't. And that got to be something there.
I'll tell you what I think it is.
Uh-huh.
I think it's the practice room. You know, because everybody was good. Everybody was talented, naturally gifted. And for me, I think the reason that I'm here today and not doing something else is because I really like trying to figure this out. And I practiced hard, and I found good teachers and good coaches that fed me, that guided me, and gave me a lot of great advice along the way. And I also had this, I have enjoyed over my 23 years in this business, if you can imagine, I've enjoyed an enormous bucket of good luck.
How long did you stay in with the coach back home?
The teacher.
You know, for those 2 years that Mr. Hayward, I studied with for those 2 years at SMU while I was getting my master's degree, and then I went to Juilliard Opera Center. I studied with Marlena for several years, and you know, I had the great fortune. Can I tell you a little story?
Sure.
Okay. I was singing. You know what? I think for all of us, tenors anyway, you know what? I shouldn't speak for anybody. For me, it all fell apart somewhere in my early 30s. You know, you get a few jobs on potential, and you might be good someday. But there comes a point where you have to start singing like a grown-up. And you got to start singing like the big boys do. And during that time where it sort of all fell apart for me, I was in Toronto and I heard Ben Heppner sing in a concert. And he was amazing. The voice was so beautiful, so free. And I went back to him after the show and I said, Ben, my name's Jay. And I'm so smitten with your singing. And I'm looking for some guidance and maybe a teacher and some coaches. Can you tell me who teaches you? And he said, this fella's standing right here. Bill and Dixie Neal, his teachers, lived there in Toronto. And I introduced myself and I said, could I maybe come and spend a little time with you? And they brought me into the fold and into the family. And I've been studying with Bill and Dixie ever since. And there's where the great fortune lies. You know, he has been such an amazing fit for me because he always knows what I have to work on next. You know, no matter how well I feel like I've done and how well I'm doing, he always said, okay, but now we got to work on this. Now you got to do this. And so, you know, it's been a great ride. And I think without the passion for the practice room, without the drive to figure this out, and without that bucket of good fortune, you know, it would be somebody else sitting here talking to you.
Was there ever a time during all those years where you were ready to give it up? Think I've worked hard at this, but it's not happening?
Only about 1,000 times. Absolutely. And it wasn't that long ago.
Really?
You know, look, unless you're one of the few. You know, I've got friends that have been on top for a lot of years because they are unusually, almost supernaturally gifted singers. I think that's probably maybe 1 or 2% of those of us that work in this business. The rest of us, we just have to work really hard at it, and we have to be very resilient. You know, it was just a few years ago that, you know, I sort of went fell in the cracks for a little while. I'm fond of saying that my phone was learning not to ring. And
what did you do during that period of time?
Well, you know, I lived at home with my mama for a while. You know, one of those valleys, if you will, or challenging periods was a time that I had turned 40 years old, and I didn't have any job singing, and didn't really have a manager at the time, and I was between places to live. I spent 3 years sort of hopping around with friends, and so I spent some time at home in Paris, Texas, passing out towels at the gym and practicing.
It must be hard for your mom to see you suffering.
Yeah, it was. You know, it is for all of my family, you know, that they want the best for me, and I had a lot of good. I've had a lot of good years, you know, over the last 20 years. A lot of great mountaintops, a lot of great breaks, and then, you know, things sort of fall off for a while. But I kept the faith, And I kept believing that if I, the important thing is that I sing well. If I'll sing well, then I believe I'm probably going to get jobs. If I don't, then I'm probably not going to. So that kept me in the practice room. It kept me trying to figure this out, and it kept me hopeful that if I just stuck with it, I would get a break.
I want to know about that Friday afternoon in October of 2011 when Peter Gelb looked you in the eyes and said, "Can you do this?" What did you do? What did you think?
Yeah. I thought, yes, I can do this. Absolutely.
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt. I can do this. I can do this. It all comes down to preparation. And talking about those good breaks, I was in a sort of a challenging period of my career in 2007 or 8. I didn't have many jobs singing leading roles. And Spate Jenkins in Seattle said to me, "I'm going to give you a job. I want you to be understudy Siegfried." And I said, "Are you crazy? I don't want to understudy. Just have a look at it." So I looked at it and I said, "Are you crazy? I can never sing this. I could never learn it." But you know what? We had a baby on the way. And I didn't have any other options. And so my wife and I looked at it, and we thought about it and weighed all of the possibilities, and there weren't any other ones. So I said, "Yes, sir, Mr. Jenkins, thank you very much. I would love to be your understudy for Siegfried." And I started studying it, and I just almost went crazy. I almost passed out about 100 times. I thought, I am never going to learn all these words. I'm never going to learn this complicated music.
Was that your first Wagnerian role to learn?
No, it wasn't my first. I had sung Eric several times. I'd sung it there in Seattle. I think that's why he believed. Yeah. I'd also sung Stolzing in Die Meistersinger.
It's quite a few words, too.
That was a long song, too. It sure was. I sang that in San Francisco, and actually, you know what? Spate flew to Frankfurt and heard me sing it there, and that was another reason that he thought I would be a good Siegfried someday. So I took it on, and I learned it. And in answer to your question, I got to understudy Stig Anderson, who is a pro and who has done it so many times. And I watched and I learned there, and I sat out in that auditorium and I listened to him. I picked his brain and I talked to him about it, and I started understanding how the role works and how it fit together. And then I got hired to be the understudy in Los Angeles. And I went to Los Angeles and I got to understudy John Treleaven, and he's another pro that's done it so well for a lot of years. And I sat out there and I listened, and I imagined and I visualized what am I going to do when it's my turn? What am I going to bring to this role? How am I going to negotiate this really hard singing and this hard music and acting?
Stop right there, and we have a clip. Speaking of this very role from the first act of Siegfried, it's a very short clip.
Thanks.
Let's take a listen. Siegfried, first act from the Met production.
Okay.
There's much, much more to it. That's only short, but yes.
Oh,
Continue
Lord,
where
that made me break out in a sweat. Oh, you know how hard that is?
Is this first act of Siegfried the most difficult act of any opera you've ever sung?
You better believe it.
It is.
It probably is the most difficult act anybody's ever sung, maybe, or that's certainly how it feels. It's just, there's a lot of high notes. and there's a lot of orchestra down there.
What do you feel like at the end of the first act and you think, oh my God, I have 2 more acts to go?
Well, I feel like, at least for now, the hardest part's over with. I feel that way until we start the love duet in the third act. Then I start thinking, oh my gosh, maybe the hardest part is right now. You know what? So much of this game is mental. You know that. It's a very intense mental and emotional and maybe even spiritual battle. I certainly pray a lot during that show. But I just go in and collapse after that first act. It's so exhausting, into the marrow of my bones. Because the intensity of being on stage at the Met in that role, it's massive and it counts. So I go and I collapse for half an hour, and I eat a lot of food and get some nourishment and say a few prayers, and then I get up, and you know what? I love the second act. It's sort of whereas the first act is largely about
Forging the sword.
Forging the sword.
The second act, you're in the forest. How nice.
Yeah, and the first act is, to some degree, I fight it, but to some degree it's about power. I have to be strong. The second act, I get to try and sing pretty, and really focus and concentrate on trying to sing beautifully, and that's such a relief after forging that sword. So,
do you feel like singing Wagner, and oftentimes the voice is a little bit darker, and yours?
You know what? I'm surprised to hear that. I mean, first of all, it always makes me nervous to listen to myself sing. I start making a very long list of mental notes of things I want to do differently. But in truth, I can't do a whole lot better than that.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, this is just that's who I am. I'm not going to sound like Placido or Luciano.
Right.
It's just me, and I got to go out there and I have to do my best every time the orchestra starts playing. So that's what I focus on. I'll tell you that I could not have done this 5 years ago. I don't think, for exactly what you just said, there is a color. There is a darkness. I don't want to say darkness. There is a warmth. There is a strength and a color that only age gives, I think. You can try and impose it on the throat when you're younger,
right.
But there will be tears if you do. I think it doesn't work for long. I tried.
That's where you're going to get hurt.
That's where it gets dangerous. So for me, I've been fond of saying over the last couple of years that it's as if there's a God, and He cares for me, because all of this, the timing and the way everything has worked out for me, is quite remarkable. I think if any one piece of the puzzle had not fit together just right, it might not have worked out so well for me. So, you know what? I spent a lot of time counting my blessings, that I am, on this day, I'm at this point in my practice career, in my practice room, with my scales, with my vocalism, with where the color of my voice is. And I get to go out there and do my best and try and just give the best me that I can.
What is it to sing in the Met?
It's massive. It's such a privilege. You know what? I looked on from the outside for the great majority of my career, for 20 years. I listen and I watch my favorite singers and I see what they do, and I listen to that orchestra and I see these productions, and you dream of getting to get up there and sing these songs with an orchestra like that, or all of a sudden, after that one conversation on that one day, on that Friday afternoon when everything changed, the next day I'm standing next to Bryn Terfel. I'm singing with Bryn and I'm singing with Debbie. And, look, that was over a year ago, and I've done performances with them since, and it is no less exciting.
We have to take a break. This has gone so quickly, but
Oh my
we'll be
goodness.
back.
So soon.
This is Classic Talk with Bing and Dennis. We're here speaking with J. Hunter Morris. We'll be right back.